Hello, everybody, and welcome to our After Church Tea Time. I'm joined today by Hannah and Diana. So thank you for being here. And to everybody that's joining us, thank you for joining us today. We are going to be chatting around the sermon from Abir on the topic of embracing the perfection in you. And so I think something that stood out for me in the sermon was, just how Abir simplified it. The perspective of letting go of both the compliments and the criticisms, so that neither one is something that keeps you stuck or seen as a source for yourself. So that really, I found that quite cool in just, again, just the reminder to relax into our journeys, to relax into what's happening around us in life, and just to embrace the journey. So yeah, what did you guys take away from today?
Yeah, I love that. And I love how, that was highlighted, because it's so easy to get caught up in criticism and in compliments, right? I never thought about the opposite. We tend to focus on the negative, right? The criticism and how we allow that to kind of shape us. But it's also easy to allow compliments and positive feedback to shape your identity. And you get kind of caught up in that too, because it's oh, okay, well, this is where I'm receiving love. I'm being complimented on this thing. And so this must be who I am. This must be, my best version of myself. And we kind of get stuck on that instead of just allowing it to flow, right? And so I really love how that was highlighted, and just embracing our true authenticity, that which is connected with God, right? And so it can change. Our strengths, our weaknesses can change, and just because we're receiving criticism or compliments, which, as Abir mentioned, are usually a result of just someone else's upsets or projections, right? Yeah, we can let that go and just embrace who we are authentically.
I love that. And I love how when she was talking about the puzzle, it was really cool to me how, the corner piece, it's there's only 4 corner pieces in the puzzle, but they create the entire border, the boundaries for everyone else to kind of be involved. And while the corner piece might be oh, why do I have these sharp edges their whole life? Once they really take their place as God created them to be the corner piece, they can see how everybody else fits in together because of them. And yeah, I really love that, because I think a lot of times it may be hard to embrace the pieces, the corner pieces that we all have of why am I like this, or just different things like that. But really it's how God specifically created you to be, and without every individual piece, we couldn't complete the puzzle. And I just really loved that part of it. And I loved how she also was talking about with the basket and all the unique colors that come together to create a piece that it's so unique and it's so beautiful, but without every individual strand and color, and it just wouldn't be possible. And how nature was what created us all to be our unique parts. And I loved how she talked about nature and embracing nature, because nature is perfect as it is, but there's so many random things that are involved in nature that maybe not look like perfection. It can look scary even at sometimes, but it's still perfect at the end of the day.
Yeah, that was really cool. And just how you mentioned it, just that perception that we have of what may feel chaotic in nature is actually just a part of the entire cycle. And I think that kind of that stood out for me quite a bit as well. And just sometimes we look at ourselves and we see all these components, and sometimes they're just some things just feel odd. Like you heal a piece and you feel, oh, it feels odd. And it's like, oh, how come does that exist? How come is that thing there? But like, again, it's just all part of the fuller picture of you, which is really cool just to be reminded of again, to just sit back and allow all of you to show up in those random puzzle pieces that you have yourself. And yeah, it does complete the picture, and it just makes it so much more comfortable to be reminded that it's not actually odd. It's not strange for these things to exist, for these perspectives to exist. It's just opportunities to really look deeper into yourself and see the picture that you are, and see the fuller picture that you are, and embrace how all those pieces of you really come together at the end of the day to complete the picture, which is something that I think we sometimes lose sight of. We kind of always want ourselves to be a certain way or do things in a certain way. And yes, it probably stems a little bit from playing in that space of comparison. Yet when we embrace the fact that all of those components of us complete who we are, we get to, like, really, we just get to appreciate even where there are things that we feel are not so great, and that we can work on them and release them. Because sometimes it's just about healing and releasing, as opposed to thinking that it's good or bad. And I think that's been my journey quite a bit, is just letting go of what I believe to be bad about myself, and allowing for it to be there because it's showing me something. And I think this journey and the teachings of union and Jeff and Shalea's work has been that for me. It's just allowing myself to be myself more and more as I go deeper with my healing, as I go deeper with the work, even just going deeper with being connected to people in this community has just allowed me to kind of go, okay, well, that's not so odd. You know, like, it's okay. Just like, calm down, take a chill pill.
Yeah, I can see that 100%. And that what you just said, calm down. Like that's kind of been one of my mantras, is like, chill, everything's okay. Like I'm fine. And yeah, through the work, I've definitely come to realize like every single little part of myself that like feels off or feels, not good. It's like those pieces are all okay. And like I wouldn't be able to experience like the love and like the beautiful joy of life if I didn't have the contrast of like those weird moments and things like that. And it's cool to when I've started doing this work and to finally started to see that those parts of me and like the anxious parts or the rough parts, like I experienced those in order to be able to experience like love and to have the contrast to know like I am divine and I can choose from my own free will. I can just keep choosing love over and over again.
Yeah, I think you touched on something very important there in the choosing love over and over again, because I feel like and it's probably something that Kanisha shared as well in her outro, was just how we may have been conditioned out of our true selves by the feedback that we get as we're growing up. And then we start to kind of find these pieces and embrace them and just realize that, hey, actually, that really did limit my shine in that space. But it's okay to now be aware of that thing and to allow for that thing to lift. Because sometimes it doesn't completely release immediately, but it lifts and it becomes lighter and lighter all the time, which is something that's been part of the journey. Is just getting lighter from that heaviness, from the contrast that you were speaking to. Just letting go and allowing for it to lift.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And I feel like this sermon like really spoke to me in a space that I've been healing through, and just embracing my authenticity, but specifically like embracing my spirituality, because I realized like I've really been not putting it down, but hiding it a little bit, or not being fully out with it, because I felt like in my job, right? I have this corporate job. It's not as accepted, or it's not as normal, right? And so I've been kind of suppressing this part of me that I value so much and is so sacred to me, um, because I felt like I wouldn't fit in the corporate setting if I let this spiritual part of me shine, I guess. But I really like what Kanisha said and what Abir was saying about like the puzzle analogy was really great for me, because imagine if the corner piece just kind of resisted or refused to be the corner piece just because it wasn't like the other pieces, and it's like, oh no, I want to be like everyone else, like I hate this corner, I hate being the corner piece. Like, imagine if it felt like that, we wouldn't be able to finish the puzzle, because the corner piece is so like essential to the puzzle. And I'm a puzzle person. I love puzzles. So like they're so perfect in their function. And so I feel like as we embrace our function, God is really able to put the pieces together for us and finish the puzzle, so to speak. And so for me personally, I'm learning that there's a reason I'm in the corporate setting right now. And there's a reason that I value my spirituality, and that this is a part of my life, a huge part of my life. And it's okay to embrace it. And it doesn't have to look like my colleagues, right? Like, my interests don't have to be the same as theirs. Maybe there's a purpose in it. So yeah, those were some of my takeaways there.
I love
Yeah.
that.
Carry on.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that, yeah, for me, it's also been that journey of what feels different being in a corporate, and looking at people around me and going, well, actually, we all have our piece. And I think it's been something that we've touched on countless times, is just realizing that we have a piece and we can be the piece that we need to be. And I think that that puzzle analogy, as you said, it's perfect, because each one of them has to be there to complete the picture. And so I often have this conversation with myself, like, okay, why did I call this in? Why did I call this person in? Why did I call this experience in? And I think it's just, it helps me to relax, because I'm looking for what the insight is in any situation, as opposed to, oh, this is a problem and that's a problem, and I don't want this and I don't want that. It just shifts the dialogue quite a bit. So that's quite cool.
Yeah. And I found with the analogy she used with the broken bowls and things too, it brought to my mind, like, I loved how she said they actually have more value once the bowls and the vases are glued back together. That kind of blew my mind, because I'm like, of course, like when we all heal, and we heal with ourselves in those cracks with like love as like the glue, it's like we're continuing to increase our own value by accepting ourselves as children of God and as pure divine love. And yeah, that really was beautiful to me, and to hear that while we all go through hardships and things where we feel not good, by just loving that part and reminding ourselves that it's okay to love those parts too, like we're also like increasing our value for ourselves. And I've just found that for my own self, and what I've gone through on my healing journey, it's cool to look at it that way, and to see myself instead of like, how how kind of I used to maybe see myself as more scattered. Now I realize, no, it's just the parts of me I needed to love and bring back together, and like together I'm whole. And yeah, I really loved that part.
Yeah, I found that cool as well. And again, it is just, that perspective shift that makes you sit back and realize, well, actually, it's not that bad. It actually is okay. It's okay for those cracks to show up, and as we're bringing love into those places, as you said, it's realizing that it's growing our value. And I never saw it in that way. I never thought about it in that way until today. It was just like, okay, these things need to be healed. But at the same time, just realizing the shift in value taking place all the time and starting to appreciate that there's probably something that was my primary standout moment of the sermon, was kind of just, again, remembering that, hey, the value is getting better. I'm getting better. And as I'm getting better, I'm increasing in value. And just to take the message and internalize it and relax into that message was really cool for me.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it's really if you think about it, and I think this was also touched on in the sermon, like it's our flaws or what we see as flaws or our upsets that actually bring us together. And I love how that was kind of highlighted in the card reading as well. Like community was really emphasized. And like if we were to not embrace our flaws or resist our upsets, how would we really relate to each other, right? We would be relating to each other on surface level sort of values. But as we allow ourselves to go deeper, and as we allow ourselves to embrace our so-called flaws, we realize that our brother and sister share the same flaws, and they're not actually flaws, right? They're what actually brings us together. So I thought that was really great. And I like how Kanisha was saying, like, as you allow your own light to shine, you unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. And that was also said in a poem that I really love by Marianne Williamson, I think, Our Deepest Fear. And she was basically saying, as we are liberated from our own fears, our presence automatically liberates others. So just the action or just a choice of embracing our imperfections, right? Embracing our cracks is actually what allows other people to do the same and really brings us together.
Yeah, and what I've struggled with perfectionism for most of my life, and this sermon, I've had a big takeaway for me was like that no one is perfect. Like none of us is, well, we're all perfect as children of God, but there's no cookie cutter human being that is out there, like that we're all kind of like needing to be. Like we just have to be our own unique individual self, and like that's more than enough. And yeah, for me, I felt like I was striving towards perfection for a long time, and since I found the work, I've worked on healing that and letting it go, and realized that I'd rather just be consistent with like who I am, however that is, than trying to be like working towards a perfect person. And like yeah, I found like just through being consistent with like myself and like loving myself, I've really been able to heal the perfectionist thing, because I'm not striving for the future anymore. I'm just loving whatever I am, like in the given moment and given day, which is hallelujah.
Yeah. And I have to agree with you, like, that striving for perfectionism, I think has probably been the biggest part of my journey, is kind of letting go of that striving for perfectionism, just embracing everything. And I think it allows me to relax. It also gives me the freedom to experience life. Because I find that I'm not striving or holding on to things anymore and sweeping certain things under the rug or whatever. It's kind of like, hey, I can look at this and I can deal with this, but I don't have to hide those components of myself. And I think that that's probably been the bigger lesson, is kind of letting go of the perfectionism, because it does keep you stuck in this, as you said, this cookie cutter framework that really doesn't work for anybody. And nobody's really going to be exactly as you are, and you are not going to be as exactly as somebody else is. And so it's just constant reminders that actually things are okay. And I am okay, and I think that that's really been a big lesson, but also a big healing, because it's just kind of been my journey to let go of a lot of that conditioning that led into that space. Hey guys, I need to just close my windows because it started raining.
Oh yeah, take care of that. But yeah, just kind of going off of that. Yeah, when you think about it, like striving for perfectionism is really like a trick of the ego, right? Because what it does is it causes you to suppress like your upsets, I guess, and ignore them or try to hide them, when you should really be embracing them, because that's the only way you're going to like know true perfection in God, is when you are just present in the moment, and embracing whatever upset or whatever feels odd. The only way to like realign yourself with the truth is just to be present and accept it, like the two of you were saying. And so when we're striving for perfectionism, it just keeps us in this toxic loop, this toxic cycle. And when really the answer is just to relax, like the two of you were saying, and just be in the present moment.
Yeah, 100%. And that was kind of got me to think about what Kanisha was saying about when she was a child and just like loved dancing, and how her parents called it flailing. And it got me thinking too about me and my sister, and how we used to love just doing cartwheels around the house, especially my sister, and how that was not always okay. But like by like recognizing that, like, this is like coming up, the perfectionist that like we're quote unquote striving for, when you are striving on that for perfection, it's not even for like your perfection. It's like to be the perfect that you were conditioned to think was perfect. And so like when you just can continue to choose to let go of perfectionism, and like remembering like the things you used to love to do as a child, and like embracing those parts, you can realize like, oh, that was perfect, even though I was dancing like crazy throughout the house. Just because my parents didn't enjoy it didn't mean it wasn't perfect and like divine, and that there's no other perfection I need to strive for other than the crazy flailing dancing girl, like that is perfect. And yeah, I really liked that piece of it, and how perfection, it's not even our perfection, it's like the world's perfection in a way.
Yeah, I feel like I've been realizing that a lot as I've been healing. It's like looking back on my childhood, I'm like, actually, I was doing exactly what I was supposed to be doing as a child, right? I was having fun. Yeah, I spilled the milk, but that's what children do. Like, just realizing I was perfect as I was. And um, yeah, like you said, like it's really societal conditioning that makes us think that we did something wrong, when really just being who we are in the moment is perfect, right? It's God's will. And so, yeah, like looking back, yeah, that's we really were just being ourselves. And as we kind of get back to that in adulthood, it starts to feel really good.
Yeah, and I think it's also quite freeing. And again, it's something that Abir shared around the compliments and criticisms. When you let go of both of them, you are choosing your freedom more than anything else, because you're not beholden to either one of those things. And I think that's been something that I've started to feel more and more as I heal. Just actually feeling a level of freedom that I probably didn't allow myself to feel when I was younger. And also, I mean, it's what you spoke to Diana around about being in a corporate. Like you don't generally feel as free. And so a lot of my healing has just brought a great sense of freedom. Like I'm not clinging to things, but I'm also not pushing things away, which was something that I had to learn to undo. And I didn't realize that I was pushing things away until I started realizing, well, hey, I'm much more comfortable to be myself more, which makes me feel more free. And I can do that anywhere, really. Yes, I mean, there's a level of decorum in most places under most circumstances, but at the same time, kind of just embracing that sense of being free from those conditions, being free from the perception that you have to be a certain way or do a certain thing. And then you do come back to realizing that, hey, as a child, I was a lot more free. I was a lot more comfortable to embrace what was happening around me, or even say, I don't like this. That's not cool. I don't like it. And then you grow up and you start to kind of dim that voice a little bit. And as I'm healing, I'm just finding that I'm much more comfortable to say, okay, that's not okay. Just understand that I'm not okay with that. It's not okay. I'm also sure that there's certain things that you don't like that I do. I'm much more open to having those conversations because I feel more free in those relationships.
Yeah, I found that it's a freedom to choose, what was it gonna say? The freedom to, something you just said, it really stuck with me. The freedom to say yes and to say no, like you were saying, like to say, no, I don't like this, or yes, I do. And for me, that's a huge piece too, is this freedom to feel safe enough to speak out and to say when I'm not okay with something. Because yeah, like as a child, before the programming and conditioning, you speak at your mind, you speak like, no, I don't like this. And yeah, to come back to that through the healing work, I've definitely noticed I'm able to speak out more. And I'm also aware of, oh, I didn't speak out when actually I didn't enjoy that and I could have spoken out. And so like now I'm kind of working through that right now with my coach, and to realize like the things that I'm staying silent about when I'm talking about it in a session, when I can really work on healing it and then take the next step, which is speak out into my real life and actually start kind of speaking it out in the moment and saying, no, like that's not okay. Or like, just kind of along those lines. Like, I think it's really important for me to know, like, it's okay to say yes and to say no, and to just speak your truth no matter what it is.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh,
sorry, you go ahead.
okay. I was just gonna say, like, I 100% resonate with that. Like, the whole throat chakra and communication, and oh my gosh, this has been like something I've been working through since I've started this work, around like feeling like my words have to be perfect or my communication has to be perfect, but or being afraid to say the wrong thing, or being afraid to say no, like the two of you were saying. And what I'm learning is that God speaks through us, right? God speaks through me. So no matter what I'm saying, it's God flowing through me when I choose to just be present with myself and allow God's voice to speak through me, right? And when I don't do that, when I kind of filter myself and limit my words and my communication, I'm really filtering God. Like I'm not allowing God to speak, right? And there's no love in that. And so I'm just kind of, it's been a journey for me, like getting comfortable saying what's on my mind, because I'm like, oh, this isn't the right setting, or this doesn't feel like something I'm used to saying or speaking out loud. But like just learning, like when I feel called to say something, or when I feel called to say no to something, there's a reason I feel called to say that, and it's okay to say it, right? So yeah, thanks for bringing that up.
Yeah, and you know what? It's like, and I completely agree with you. There have been times when I've also been like, is it okay to say this in certain settings or to do this in certain settings? But I feel like that what you were speaking to around that filtering component has probably been the thing that really kept me in certain situations for longer than I should have been there, and dealing with certain things for longer than I should have dealt with them. Because again, it was about that self-censorship that didn't really serve me. And as I'm healing it, I'm kind of just going, well, actually, it's much more comfortable for me to be fully authentic. Whether that's received well or not is not actually my piece. My piece is to be authentic so that I can really have the best experience out of life and to stop some things sooner than allowing them to have carried on. Because in the past, like I would let situations just almost get out of hand, because I was like, okay, you're like, you're being too tough here, you're being too difficult here, and all those kind of things. But that self-censorship didn't benefit me in certain instances. And so I feel like it's much better now being able to say, okay, no, just no, let's not, and it's something that I probably picked up a while ago, in that no is actually a complete sentence. Like you don't always have to explain your no. And I feel like we kind of learn that lesson, that we have to explain our no, when actually our no is really us truly embracing who we are, and making sure that we accept what is reasonable for us in our lives, and saying no to things that we don't believe is reasonable for us in our lives. And it's also something that probably teaches people how to respond to you as well, and how to interact with you, and what is allowable. Because I think we grow up into that space of allowing a lot of things that if we were honest with ourselves, and I have been there, if I was honest with myself in certain situations, like the answer was just no from the beginning. And I was like, okay, no more of that self-censorship. Like if it's a no, it's a no. Let's just be real here.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that you use that term, self-censorship. Like, oh my gosh, I did that a lot. I'm still like moving through that, because I'm learning that I wasn't really honoring myself by censoring myself, right? Like I wasn't being my true and authentic self, because I would think one thing and then say another, right? And I wasn't honoring God in that space. I wasn't honoring my truth in that space. And so it was that thought of like, yeah, how is it going to be received by this other person? But like you said, Granville, like that's not my piece. My piece is just to say my truth, right? And honor myself in that space. And so, yeah, that's been a huge lesson for me that I'm moving through every day. So yeah.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I'm with you guys there, and definitely I'm working through like speaking my voice, and this joining today is been it's a huge win for me. I'm so happy to be here. I'm so grateful to be here with you guys, and practicing just showing up as my authentic self. And it is so freeing, and like to be able to make these connections with you two is just like beautiful in itself. And then I get to, like Granville, something you said, it's freedom, but also it's like you can experience so much more of life when you know you're saying your no and you're saying your yes when you really mean it. Because like, you know, I really meant yes when I wanted to show up today, and it was like, yes, I'm doing it no matter what comes up. And yeah, that's freedom. Because like, or no, that's brought me to this new life experience that I have never had before, which is joining the church tea time. And yeah, it's really beautiful. And I can see how down the line, as I continue to say yes to things that feel good and like no to things that don't, like more divine experiences like this will manifest for me. And yeah, for everyone, it's really about, for me, I've learned saying yes when it feels good, saying no when it feels good, and then following through with that no matter what gets in the way or what fears or anything that comes up, because it's going to be a divine lesson or divine experience either way. And yeah.
Yeah, and it's cool. And you know, the nice thing about it is that, as both of you share, that, you know, like that's really you truly stepping into valuing and honoring yourself, which I feel is something that Abir tied up her sermon with really nicely, is that as we start to value ourselves, we will put ourselves in spaces of value. So the experience that we're having now is it's a valuable experience because we value who we are as we show up to do the after church tea time. And you know, it's so funny because like I would never, if you had asked me 3 or 4 years ago if this was something I would be doing, I can very comfortably tell you my answer would have been no. And somehow it's just evolved into after church tea time, into these live conversations. And it's, you know, it's not something that I ever trained for. It's not something that I ever thought I would be doing. But again, it's what you said, Hannah. It's like if you say yes to, if you truly mean your yes and you truly mean your no, then things evolve really well, right? And so I think that's really been the bigger lesson for me, is to truly embrace that yes and that no, and the value that those things bring, and the value that those things give me.
Yeah, 100%. I love that you said that it's you, when you value yourself, you put yourself in valuable situations or valuable experiences or something like that. And it's so true. I've definitely reached a new level of valuing myself in my own healing recently, and it's definitely manifested into this conversation. And yeah, and it's taken like it's been a process. So it's like not like I found the teachings yesterday and joined tea time the next week. Like it's been a beautiful unfolding of like just feeling more and more comfortable with myself, and yeah, and finding that value in the places that I didn't like before, but now I'm like, hey, no, like you said at the beginning, chill, like it's all good, you're all good. And yeah, so I love that.
So just checking in with both of you, how do you feel? Because it's starting to feel like we're more or less complete in this space. So just checking in with you guys.
Yeah, I feel complete here.
Good.
Yeah, feels good.
Awesome. So thank you for being here today, and thank you to everybody that's been following us and greeting us in the chat, and to everybody that has before seen our content and is comfortable to please feel free to like and subscribe to our Church of Union YouTube channel. where you'll find all our other after church tea times, as well as any other live discussions that have happened in our Unionism Spiritual Discussion group on Facebook. And we look forward to seeing you guys again soon. Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.